Hello everyone, it's Saoirse, and I am on a Madeline Miller kick. So today I'm going to show you her short story, which is called Galatea. I found this at a bookstore on my recent trip to New York City, and I was so excited because everybody had been telling me to read it since I was completely in love with Song of Achilles, if you hadn't noticed. And I don't love reading on screens, we've talked about this before, so to find a teeny tiny little copy of this short story was very exciting to me, and I read it all on the plane home. It's only 56 pages, and they're very small pages. This says it was published in 2013, but I think it was originally an ebook, and we're just lucky that now it's a physical book. So I'll read you the back here. In ancient Greece, the marble sculpture of a beautiful woman, Galatea, is given the blessing of life. Her sculptor marries her, and they have a daughter together, but the sculptor is a controlling and jealous man who does not want Galatea to know the world. In a desperate bid to control her, he locks Galatea away and keeps her under the constant supervision of doctors and nurses. Galatea, however, yearns for independence. She has a daughter to rescue and is determined to break free, whatever the cost. So in the first few pages, I really thought, oh, this is a modern retelling of this myth. But then as it went on, I don't think so. I just, for some reason, it starts out, she's in like a hospital setting, and I thought it was very modern, but what are your thoughts? And just from the first page, her handle on this character and the way that she sounds, because it's written in first person, is just so crisp, so clear. She really punches you in the face with that voice, which as a writer is a very important thing, to have voice. And this is one of the reasons why I prefer to read and to write in first person, because I just think that the voice comes across a lot more than if you have a third person narrator. So I really felt like I was in Galatea's head, and it's such a sad story. She's willing to do anything to get out of this hospital, all this supervision, and get back to her daughter, or at least get away from being a prisoner. And her husband keeps her in this place because he is this nasty, jealous piece of crap, who creates this woman because everybody else is not good enough for him. He basically thinks everybody is promiscuous. He is a big misogynist incel, and so he creates this woman and then just assaults her repeatedly, and is mad that one of these assaults led to a pregnancy. And the daughter is actually a really cool person, and of course he doesn't like that. So I'm going to read some of the lines that stood out to me in here. So at the beginning, she's in this hospital, she's trying everything to get a different reaction from the nurse and doctor and possibly find a way to get out. And she's telling us that the nurse likes to be able to tell the doctor that Galatea has said something weird because the nurse is having an affair with the doctor. So she says, but I say this so that you understand what I was up against, that I was worth more to her sick than I was well. Which is just such a heavy sentence. She's basically, entertainment for the nurse and doctor, so she's a lot more entertaining when she's sick. And then when the doctor comes in, she says he had had garlic that day in what smelled like every day he'd ever lived, so I had gone to breathe by the window. I just like that. Madeline Miller is really, really good at making us see and hear and feel and taste. Did I say smell? And smell everything. She's very, very good with writing senses, and that bit about garlic was just perfect. I lay down and arranged myself in the right way. It's easy because I've had a lot of practice, but also because I think there's some part of me, the stone part, that remembers and is glad to settle into solid lines. Just so cool to write a character who used to be a statue, and like how would that translate to flesh and blood? And I think she handled it so well, and just like with Song of Achilles, she has such a command over what she's writing that I never think, oh, this is absurd, like this could never happen. You're fully invested in the myths because she scoops you up and she takes you along on these stories and you believe her. So this part's terrible. Galatea's husband is looking at her stomach and she has stretch marks from bearing his child, and he says, how long have they been there, the stretch marks? Since she was born, 10 years ago now. They are ugly, he said. I'm so sorry, my love. It is the same for all women. If you were stone, I would chisel them off, he said. Oh, ugh. I mean, could she make us hate him anymore? I don't think so. My daughter was beautiful and stone pale and born in a summer that was so viciously hot the calves died in the fields. But she and I were always perfectly cool, rocking in our chair together. Just an example of how Madeline Miller can create a scene in one sentence. We can feel completely how hot it was that summer because the calves were dying in the fields. And that's not an overused sentence. Like, it was so hot I was sweating a lot. She's just very, very creative with her descriptions, which I really admire. Everyone looked at me because I was the most beautiful woman in the town. I don't say this to boast, because there is nothing in it to boast of. It was nothing I did myself. Ooh, short and sweet, perfect. Just one of those lines that makes you think about how often women are complimented solely based on their looks, which, you know, beneath the way that we adorn ourselves and decide to wear our hair and makeup and clothes and all that, beneath that, it's nothing we did ourselves. You know, we didn't get to choose any of it. We didn't choose our bone structure. So, yeah, I just liked that. And then, oh, this is horrible. So her husband is violent with her, and then he's telling her, look at the bruises. Like, the color is perfect. He held up the mirror so I could see. You make the rarest canvas, love. And the whole story is hard to read because it's so upsetting, because it's an abusive relationship. But I'm thankful that she's calling that out and that she's very clearly on Galatea's side. And that line right there, like, that is one of those toxic things that people will say after they've hurt you. You know, they'll find a way to make the horrible thing they did be inextricable from your value. And, like, you hold value because of the way that they see you. And this is just so very dangerous. I hope you're not in a relationship like that. And if you are, that you can get out. Okay, and then I'm not going to spoil the ending of it. I hope that you read it. It really will not take you long. But in the afterward, I wanted to read something that Madeline Miller said, because she talks about the original myth of Pygmalion, who's the husband, and she says that she based most of her research for this solely on the Pygmalion myth in Ovid's Metamorphoses, even though there are many, many other versions. She says many have seen romance in it, in this story. Numerous makeover movies like Pretty Woman clearly owe it a debt. Others have seen it as a metaphor for how artists fall in love with their art. Still others, myself included, have been disturbed by the deeply misogynist implications of the story. Pygmalion's happy ending is only happy if you accept a number of repulsive ideas. That the only good woman is one who has no self beyond pleasing a man. The fetishization of female sexual purity, the connection of the snowy ivory with perfection, the elevation of male fantasy over female reality. Galatea does not speak at all in Ovid's version. Even more tellingly, she's not given a name. That was one of the few details I took from other sources. She is only called the woman. She is meant to be a compliant object of desire, and nothing more. I was, like, applauding on the plane for this paragraph. where she says the elevation of male fantasy over female reality. Boom. Mic drop. Why, time and time again, is that more important? Why is male fantasy more important than our reality? It's so wrong, and I love that she called that out. And then here, she says, as for Pygmalion, I accepted him exactly as Ovid made him. The term incel wasn't in wide circulation when I wrote this, but Pygmalion is certainly a prototype. For millennia, there have been men who react with horror and disgust to women's independence, men who desire women yet hate them, and who take refuge in fantasies of purity and control. What would it be like to live with such a man as your husband? There are too many today who could answer that. But that is the mark of a good source myth. It is water so wide it can reach across centuries. Yeah, that line, men who desire women yet hate them, made me think of The Girl with the Dragon Tattoo, which was originally called Men Who Hate Women in Swedish. And that, to me, is what it always comes down to. And when I hear about violence toward women, it upsets me so much thinking that these people who are hurting other humans are passing it off as love often, or that they did what they did because they couldn't get what they wanted out of the woman, and that they chase these women that they just absolutely despise. They despise them because they can't have them. And I love that she used the word incel. Incels can be some of the most dangerous people because they're so very angry and don't put their anger into a proper channel. There's other things that you can do. You don't have to hurt other people. Okay, you can go to one of those places where you like pay to wreck a room. I've never done it, but it sounds super fun. You could try yoga if you wanted to calm down a little bit. I don't know. Lots of thoughts there, and I wanted to keep this to a short video, so definitely recommend this a lot. I really, really, really enjoyed her voice in this, her narrative style. It was really different. Sorry, that's my alarm telling me to leave. It was really different from Song of Achilles. And I am going to start reading Circe soon. So again, do not spoil Circe for me or I will lose my mind. I tried to wait longer to read it, but I want to read it so bad. So I will see you all next time, and until then, happy reading.